There comes a moment in life when you have to stop expecting the world to be fair. Not because fairness does not matter, but because expecting life to always reward you for being good, patient, or sincere can leave you completely unprepared for reality. You can do everything right and still be rejected. You can give someone your loyalty and still be betrayed. You can work harder than everyone around you and still watch someone else receive the opportunity you wanted. You can speak the truth and still be misunderstood. And if your entire sense of peace depends on the world treating you fairly, then every disappointment will have the power to destroy you. This is where you have to become stronger. You have to understand that the world does not operate according to your expectations. People act according to their interests, their fears, their insecurities, their ambitions, and sometimes their own wounds. That does not mean everyone is bad. It simply means you cannot build your life around the assumption that everyone will behave the way you would behave. You may be honest with someone, and they may not be honest with you. You may show loyalty, and they may still leave. You may give someone another chance, and they may use that opportunity. You can become bitter and spend years asking why life treated you unfairly, or you can become wiser and ask yourself a much more powerful question: what can I learn from this? That question changes everything, because strength begins when you stop demanding that reality be different and start learning how to navigate reality as it is. This does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean becoming cruel. It does not mean walking through life assuming everyone is your enemy. It means developing the emotional discipline to accept what you cannot control. If someone decides they no longer value your presence, do not spend your life begging them to recognize your worth. Your value does not become smaller because someone failed to see it. And this is one of the hardest lessons you will ever learn. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is refusing to chase what has already chosen to walk away from you. The world will test you through disappointment. It will test you through rejection. It will test you through people who underestimate you. It will test you through rejection, to stop looking for applause, to stop needing everyone to understand your journey. The moment you accept that life owes you nothing, something extraordinary happens. You become free. You stop complaining about the conditions and start working with them. You stop asking why someone else has an advantage and start developing your own strengths. You stop waiting for people to rescue you and begin becoming the person who can rescue himself. That is where real power begins. Stop expecting the world to be fair. You begin to see another uncomfortable truth. The need to please everyone can look like kindness on the surface. You tell yourself you are being helpful, you are being understanding, you are avoiding conflict, you are keeping the peace. But sometimes what you call kindness is actually fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of being disliked, the fear that if you finally say what you really think, people will leave. And that fear can quietly control your entire life. You begin saying yes when you want to say no, you explain yourself again and again because you desperately want someone to understand you. But listen carefully. You cannot build a strong identity while constantly editing yourself for other people's comfort. There will always be someone who thinks you are too ambitious, someone who thinks you have changed, someone who dislikes your boundaries, someone who becomes uncomfortable when you stop giving them unlimited access to your time and energy. Let them be uncomfortable. Your responsibility is not to make everyone comfortable with your growth. The moment you begin setting boundaries, you will discover something fascinating about people. Sometimes, when you stop being useful to someone, you finally discover what the relationship was really built on. You have to become comfortable with disappointing people. That does not mean becoming selfish. It means understanding that disappointment is not the same thing as harm. You can disappoint someone and still be a good person. You can say no and still have a good heart. You can choose yourself without becoming arrogant. The strongest people are not those who are loved by everyone. They are the people who can tolerate being misunderstood without abandoning themselves. Think about how much energy you waste trying to control people's opinions. You cannot control whether someone likes you. You cannot control whether someone agrees with your decisions. So why give them control over your emotional state? Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them misunderstand. Your job is to know who you are and where you are going. When you have a purpose, approval becomes less important. You stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Does this move me closer to the person I want to become?" That question changes your entire life. You begin protecting your time. You become selective. You become comfortable standing alone. You realize that solitude is sometimes better than belonging to a group that requires you to betray yourself. The world will always reward the person who understands their own value. So do not spend your life trying to convince everyone else that you matter. Know it yourself. You don't need everyone's approval. You need your own respect. And once you stop living for other people's approval, you are forced to confront something even more difficult, yourself. But there comes a point where you have to look inward and ask a much harder question: what inside me is keeping me weak? That question requires courage. Most people want to change their circumstances without changing themselves. They want success, discipline, confidence, respect, and freedom, but they still protect the habits that keep them comfortable. They procrastinate and call it preparation. They avoid difficult conversations and call it peace. They waste hours scrolling and then complain they have no time. They make promises to themselves and break them repeatedly. You say you are going to work harder, but you quit when it becomes uncomfortable. You promise that you will stop chasing someone who disrespects you, and then you return the moment they give you a little attention. Eventually, the problem is no longer the world. The problem is that you have taught yourself that your own word means nothing. This is why you must become ruthless with your weaknesses, not hateful toward yourself, not obsessed with perfection. Ruthless with the behaviors that repeatedly sabotage your future. If your excuses have become automatic, challenge them. If you keep waiting until you feel ready, understand that readiness often comes after action, not before it. You cannot negotiate with every weakness forever. There will always be a voice inside you saying, "Tomorrow. Tomorrow I will start. Tomorrow I will change. Tomorrow I will become disciplined." But tomorrow is where dreams go to die when today is continuously wasted. You do the difficult work when nobody is watching. You keep your promises to yourself even when there is no reward waiting at the end of the day. This is how confidence is built. Confidence does not come from repeating positive words in the mirror. It comes from evidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you create evidence that you can trust yourself. Every difficult task you complete becomes another piece of proof, and eventually you become dangerous to your old patterns. Because the version of you that once needed comfort begins to crave progress. The version of you that once searched for excuses begins searching for solutions. The version of you become disciplined enough to stop betraying your own potential. Be ruthless with the habits that weaken you and patient with the person you are becoming. And when you begin becoming disciplined with yourself, another lesson becomes unavoidable. You must become disciplined about who receives your attention. Because one of the greatest ways people lose their power is by chasing those who have already shown them that they are not interested in giving the same energy in return. You call them. You tell yourself that if you just try a little harder, eventually they will recognize your value. But ask yourself something. Why are you working so hard to convince someone to appreciate what another person would naturally value? This is where self-respect begins. You cannot force someone to choose you. You cannot negotiate genuine interest. You cannot chase someone into loving, respecting, or appreciating you. And the harder you chase, the more you often communicate something you never intended to communicate. That you are willing to abandon your own dignity just to keep someone's attention. Stop doing that. There is a difference between persistence and desperation. Persistence means you pursue something meaningful despite obstacles. Desperation means you continue pursuing something that repeatedly tells you to walk away. Learn to recognize the difference. When someone repeatedly ignores you, believe the pattern. When someone consistently disrespects you, believe the pattern. When someone only appears when they need something, believe the pattern. People reveal themselves through what they repeatedly do, not through what they occasionally promise. This does not mean you should become bitter or assume everyone will hurt you. It means you should become observant, watch behavior, listen carefully, notice consistency, and most importantly, stop making excuses for patterns that you would immediately recognize if they were happening. Sometimes you are not losing a person. Sometimes you are losing an illusion. The illusion that they will eventually become the person you hoped they would be. And letting go of that illusion can hurt, but holding on to it can hurt even more. Your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Every hour you spend chasing someone who does not value you is an hour you could have spent building your body, your mind, your career, your relationships, or your future. You begin returning to yourself, and that is the real victory. Walking away does not always mean you stopped caring. Sometimes it means you finally started caring about yourself enough to stop accepting less than you deserve. Do not punish people, do not seek revenge, do not try to make them jealous. Simply withdraw your energy and continue your life. Let your absence be natural, not theatrical. Let your growth speak louder than your anger. And understand this: the people meant to remain in your life will not require you to constantly prove your worth. You should never have to beg for basic respect. Protect your attention, because where your attention goes, your life follows. And when you stop chasing people who do not value you, you begin to discover something even more important: the power of controlling your own mind. Because you can walk away from a person physically and still remain trapped by them mentally. You can leave the conversation, but replay their words for days. You can stop contacting someone, but continue checking whether they noticed your absence. You can tell yourself you are moving forward while secretly allowing someone else's opinion to control your emotions. That is not freedom. A compliment can make you feel powerful. An insult can ruin your entire day. Rejection can make you question your worth. Someone's success can make you feel like a failure. Someone's silence can make you desperate for their attention. When your emotions are controlled by other people's actions, they possess a kind of power over you, so you have to become more difficult to manipulate. This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means learning to pause. Someone tries to pull you into an unnecessary argument. Pause. That small space between what happens and how you respond is where your power lives. Most people react immediately. They speak when they are angry, make decisions when they are emotional, and send messages they later regret. Then they spend the next day trying to repair damage that took only 30 seconds to create. You do not have to live that way. Learn to observe before reacting. Ask yourself, what is really happening here? Is this person trying to solve a problem, or are they trying to provoke me? Is this criticism useful, or is it simply noise? Does this situation deserve my energy? Does responding improve my position? Or am I reacting simply because my ego was touched? You will begin to understand that not every insult requires an answer. Not every accusation requires a defense. Not every disagreement requires a victory. Sometimes silence is the strongest response because you refuse to participate in a game designed to drain you. But emotional control is not only about other people, it is also about controlling yourself. Can you stay focused when you are bored? Can you remain disciplined when nobody is watching? Can you continue working when you are not receiving praise? Can you remain calm when progress is slow? This is where mental strength is built. You cannot control what people say about you. You cannot control who respects you. You cannot control every obstacle that appears in your path, but you can control your response. You can control whether rejection becomes bitterness or motivation. You can control whether failure becomes an excuse or a lesson. You can control whether criticism destroys your confidence or teaches you something. The strongest mind is not the mind that never feels anger, fear, jealousy, or disappointment. It is the mind that feels those emotions without becoming their servant. So train yourself, and once you learn to control your mind, you reach the final transformation. You stop seeing pain as something that has come to destroy you and begin seeing it as something that can shape you. Life will hurt you. There is no strategy that can completely protect you from disappointment, loss, rejection, failure, betrayal, or uncertainty. You can be careful and still get hurt. You can make the right decision and still experience a bad outcome. You can give your best and still fail. The question is not, they become angry at the world and spend years carrying an injury that happened in the past. But there is another choice. You can let pain make you wiser. You can let failure teach you discipline. You can let rejection teach you independence. You can let betrayal teach you discernment. You can let difficult seasons teach you patience. The pain itself does not automatically make you stronger. What you do with it does. This is why you must stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question gives you power. Maybe the rejection showed you that you were depending too heavily on someone else's approval. Maybe the failure exposed a weakness in your preparation. Maybe the difficult relationship revealed boundaries you never knew you needed. Maybe the period of loneliness forced you to discover who you were without constant validation. Sometimes the season you desperately want to escape is the very season developing the qualities. You are not your failure. You are not the rejection. You are not the betrayal. You are not the mistake you made 5 years ago. You are the person who decides what happens next. And that decision is where your future begins. Become ruthless about protecting that future. Be ruthless with the excuses that tell you to quit. Be ruthless with the voice that says you are finished. Be ruthless with the temptation to return to environments that repeatedly destroy your peace. Real strength is not becoming incapable of feeling. Real strength is feeling deeply and still moving forward intelligently. There will be days when nobody understands what you are trying to build. There will be moments when progress seems invisible. There will be seasons when you wonder whether all this discipline is worth it. Keep going. You are not always going to see the transformation while it is happening. A tree does not look powerful while its roots are growing underground, but those roots are preparing it to withstand the storm. Let your failures strengthen your discipline. Let your rejection redirect your path. And one day you will look back and realize that the things you thought were breaking you were teaching you how to stand. Let the pain shape you, but never let it define you.